Now to the story of police arresting an autistic teenager for an alleged homophobic comment. Let's just take a look at how events unfolded. A warning that this is actually quite an upsetting clip and it might be distressing for some of you.
But you're clenching your fist. Go away from my teenage daughter.
What is up with you?
Right. There is something wrong with you, mate. She didn't aim it at the police officer.
It's not homophobic remarks at my colleague.
It's not a homophobic remark. She said, I think she's a lesbian like Nana.
She called. If you want to bully people, you'll just get one of them badges there. That's what you do.
Yeah, exactly.
Caitlin. Where'd it go? Where's this? Does it go to right under there?
She's autistic. She don't like people touching her. She will have a meltdown.
Look at this. From what they're saying, right? It's not like she was calling her a dyke or anything, right? Or anything like that. Even though, personally, when it came to that whole arrest thing, like when it comes to America, their stuff is different. I said, okay, when it comes to America, their stuff is different. I thought, right, when it comes to being arrested and stuff, it's usually if you're saying like a slur towards somebody in a protected class. That was the thing I thought. I didn't know from what seemed like you could get arrested for saying, ma, she looks like my lesbian grandma, you know? And from what I see here, come on. She looks like a lesbian.
Oh, my gaydar is going off very, very loudly.
Wait, she actually kind of looks like Paris, and like kind of right, like somebody just swapped out his face and stuff. But yeah, this is, oh my god, this is.
Where'd it go? Where's this? Does it go to right under
there? She's autistic. She don't like people touching her. She will have a meltdown.
What's your name?
She won't come out. She's got autism. I'm Lisa.
So she can come out.
Absolutely horrible, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm just like. Plus, it seems like she has a more severe form of autism as well. So it's just like, it's like all of this. Plus, she's 16. She's 16. She's not. She's a grown adult. She's 16. So you couldn't have gone, hey, look, your kid can't be saying, even though I think it's stupid, but you couldn't have, your kid can't be saying that, and that's very bad, if she was an adult, we'd have to arrest her, but we'll let you off with a warning, something like that. That, you kind of get, when it comes to kids saying certain things, you kind of let them slide, like at least you let them slide a couple of times when it comes to saying stuff. But no, this officer had no chill. It seems like she clearly had such a fragile ego. God damn.
Police officers are called to incidents every day of the week. When they deal with teenagers, those with some sort of disability or the elderly, in general, they're quite sensitive. We've seen a short clip there, and many clips I see on.
Yeah, and the officers were not being sensitive to this person at all. We're not being care. She was in a corner. They were trying to. They managed. I'm pretty sure we'll show in the video, but they dragged her out the corner, got her in handcuffs, very stressed. I'm pretty sure in like one bit she starts punching herself because she's just getting so goddamn stressed. Like this is bad.
On social media, sometimes are conveniently clipped to give a narrative of something that perhaps others are unaware of. If we see an entire clip, we may have found out why the police actually attended this address in the first place, what sort of opposition they faced, whether it was threatening behaviour, abusive behaviour. What we see is a clip, and yes, the context of it is not pleasant. But I also saw, Dawn, that there was another criticism on the pylon on social media where they criticised that 7 officers attended this address. What they may not know is that if the officer felt threatened, we haven't seen that, but it may be in another part of the video, they would have touched their red button, which means that all available officers within the vicinity would turn up to back that officer up to.
How the fuck are you going to feel threatened by her? Like, not even like, because they've managed to go into the person's house, right? That's the thing. They've managed to go into that person's house. Clearly, the person wasn't going at the officer to attack them or anything like that, right? Or wasn't going after them. They were in the house. So at that point, what's the actual goddamn threat? I want to hear this. There needs to be a statement of this officer going,
ensure that he or she was okay. That was probably why there were 7 officers. You wouldn't have 7 officers attending the juvenile's house for that sort of crime.
So, I mean, Obviously, look, all of us respect sort of like the men and the women on the beat who are doing this job. It's an incredibly hard job, and you understand that it is a dangerous job, and people, as you said, they might have pressed their red button. But surely, Norman, I mean, it's, the fact that the police are the force in question are investigating what happened. The girl has been released with no charges whatsoever, although she was held in custody for 20 hours and questioned. Surely the fact that the force are investigating means that maybe the context is what we are seeing.
Well, look, all of us within policing, certainly when I was in policing, is probably the only job where every single officer is a manager. Every officer has to substantiate the behaviour or actions that they've taken. And there's many of us that have attended a scene.
Well, if she was in the car ride, from what I've been hearing, there should be car footage. There should be camera footage from the car of audio of all that happening. So we should see. I believe this officer was being a petty cunt, but that's just, we got that.
And if that's the case, there'll be words of advice. There'll be a complaint. And if it's a serious complaint, it'll be forwarded to the Crown Prosecution Service or the Office of Independent Police Conduct. What I've seen, Dawn, and what you've seen is a clip, and yes, it's distressing. If we saw a bigger clip, pretty much like a court, and that's why we have courts, is that you'll hear what the police did and why they did it, how they were received, and if they could have dealt with it better. What I have seen on social media is demands for the Chief Constable to resign, the officer to be suspended. That's not down to you or me. What we've seen is an incident that doesn't look pleasant, that looks as though it could have been handled better, but have we seen the true context? And we can't have people being destroyed on social media. And a caveat to all of this, what I'm talking about, is I'm not here to defend bad policing. Goodness me, I've been on your programme and many others condemning some police behaviour. What I will say...
Yeah, and they explained that she has scoliosis and twisted spine her arm. So the person saying all this as the cop is doing it, and then is
that I spoke to a very senior police federation official this week, and we discussed an officer was absolutely slated on social media, and he apparently had committed an assault for which I understand he was convicted for, so he would face a penalty for that. But the social media, the lynch mob.
No. We're not just gonna. We're playing the video. It's like. So now with that, the mum's put it, like she said, she has scoliosis. That's what I'm saying. And now they're grabbing her by the arm, and that's just causing more pain. That's extra stuff. No. I do believe there should be an investigation. But this kind of there definitely needs to be more of an investigation. But so far from what this clip does not look good. This extra bit does not look good either.
Put him in such a bad place, he committed suicide. So we've got to be careful with context. We've got to be careful. But the social media, the lynch mob, put him in such a bad place. But the assault, for which I understand he was convicted for. So he apparently was absolutely slated on social media this week. Is that I spoke to a very senior police federation official this week, and we discussed an officer was absolutely slated on social media, and he apparently had committed an assault for which I understand he was convicted for, so he would face a penalty for that. But the social media, the lynch mob, put him in such a bad place, he committed suicide.
Okay. All right. Look. I'm assuming this was just an assault, right? That's still bad, but he deserved to get shot on for that. What do you mean? He obviously it's kind of tragic, took his life and stuff. But considering he got shit on for an assault and was convicted of the assault, I'm not really gonna feel too sorry that people were really shitting on him, and then he decided to just take his own life. I still do, because it's like out of all the stuff you can do is but still, am I meant to feel really that sorry? And this is a bad example as well. Why would you bring up an example of somebody who's done an assault, somebody who's a cop who got shit on and then decided to take their own life? You should have brought up somebody who was actually innocent, who didn't actually do anything wrong, A clip went out that made them look bad, and then they end up getting shit on for it. They got They later got absolved with new evidence, and they still got shit on for it. That would have been you brought up an example of somebody who's actually done something wrong, got consequences, got shit on for doing that wrong, and then decided to take their own life. How is that? Of all the examples to bring up, that's just not good example.
So we've got to be careful with context. We've got to be careful how we use our pile-ons. We shouldn't really pile on people. And where police officers have made a mistake, and if this young officer has made a mistake, it's only right and proper that that's put before the right authority, where they see independently what she has done, and either words of advice are given, or maybe some disciplinary action will be taken. Just
for people that aren't aware of the story, what we are aware of at the moment, as you said, we don't know the full context, and that's precisely what West Yorkshire Police have said as well. The girl was arrested after telling an officer, "You look like my lesbian nana," it's and this was supposedly a homophobic public order offence, even though it was said in the girl's home. Is it possible to commit a public order offence in your own home?
No, not really.
So then she shouldn't have been arrested in the first place. I'm sorry. I am sorry. Let's go back. Let's see if she...
It's, and this was "You look like my lesbian," said as well. As you said, we don't know the full context, and that's precisely what West Yorkshire Police have said as well. The girl was arrested after telling an officer, "You look like my lesbian nana," it's and this was supposedly a homophobic public order offence, even though it was said in the girl's home. Is it possible to commit a public order offence in your own home?
No, not really. You commit a public order offence normally out on the street. It's threatening, abusive or violent behaviour towards someone else, where it causes fear to other members of the public. The sad reality is that not all police officers know their full powers all of the time.
Right.
No, it sounds like this police officer got their ego bruised, took advantage of their power, and ended up dragging this poor girl out onto the grass. No, like you can't just go, oh, if they didn't do anything. The person being arrested didn't do anything to warrant being arrested, and you even said this. So even then the cop is still in the wrong, and then all the other cops that came there and arrested him also deserve to be penalized as well, at least to an extent, because I'm assuming that they didn't know the context. I don't know what the cop told them, if they, but the woman definitely needs to be penalized. Definitely needs to be suspended for a good while for this, or outright fired. But I would say they'll probably slap over suspension.
We have lost 22,000 police officers over the last 12, 13 years. We've been obsessed of recruiting as many as we possibly can. And I believe that there are a number of people that we've recruited, A, that are not up to standard, B, probably haven't got a good grasp of the law. And not only that, since I was in policing, about homophobia, all these different phobias that are put upon the police, that they must crack down on this, they must crack down on that. And the thing is, police officers sometimes perhaps will arrest someone or threaten to arrest someone, whereas 20, 30 years ago, I'd have given them words of advice and told them to get on their way. But when they get involved in a situation where they may not have the power, like in this case, they may not have had the power, it accelerates to such a degree, it hits social media, and suddenly the anti-police mob basically make the police look as though they're all dreadful and crap and don't.
Well, yeah, this woman doesn't help the image at all. She makes all the police officers look worse and look ego bruised. Like it just really gives more fuel to the ACAB people. And we don't really want to give more fuel to the ACAB people. We don't want more stuff. There's already problems with the police. We don't need to add more sentiment to people that just go out of their way to hate all police officers indiscriminately. Then again, the police aren't really doing anything to make themselves look better. So, yeah.
Don't care. That's far from the truth. The majority do. Some make mistakes. I made mistakes when I was a police officer. I learnt from them and I become a better person for it. Sometimes we need to just step back a bit and let the right authorities deal with it. The young girl is no longer on bail, and no doubt an officer will attend to make sure that she's okay, kept up to scratch with what's going on. And I think it's a learning curve for everybody. But one thing that we must learn, Dawn, is that we can't have these piles-ons on social media and push people to the point of suicide.
Again, bad example that you used. Obviously, I don't think the guy should have killed himself. I don't think, like, what he was convicted of was a very shitty thing to do. But I don't think he should have. I don't think he should have killed himself. I don't think it was. I don't think it's to that level where you should off yourself. You know, there's still a point. There's still a point where you can redeem yourself. But bad example. You could have. I swear you could have used like an example of an officer who didn't do anything wrong, who still got piled on by the media and stuff, and ended up being depressed or having to leave for a bit or something like that. I feel like there's a lot of stories of that happening, but using a story where somebody got convicted and then got socially lambasted. Oh, I'm using big word. Yeah, socially lambasted. I can't pronounce it. It's not a good example to use.
That's not what social media is all about. We allow independent police investigations and our courts to deal with wrongdoings by police officers.
No, of course, absolutely. That's Norman Brennan there. Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon, Norman. As I said, a disturbing story that hopefully will have an outcome. Now, we have to read what the West Yorkshire Police have said as a statement. We recognise the significant level of public concern that this incident has generated, and we have moved swiftly to fully review the evidence in the criminal investigation, which has led to the decision to take no further action. Without preempting the outcome of the ongoing review, the circumstances by our professional standards directorate, we would like to reassure people that we will take on board any lessons to be learned from this incident. We do appreciate the understandable sensitivities around incidents involving young people and neurodiversity, and we are genuinely committed to developing how we respond to these often very challenging situations.
So basically just lip service. Oh yeah, this was a major fuck up, but we'll do better next time. We'll learn from this. We respect all you guys, but we're not really gonna say, oh, we've suspended this officer for a bit, or we'll have her take some classes to, like, something like that. It's just lip service.